Captain Herbert Sobel is a figure whose legacy evokes both admiration and controversy. Widely recognized for his pivotal role in shaping Easy Company, Sobel's influence was immortalized through the acclaimed book and television series Band of Brothers. Despite his significant contributions, Sobel's leadership style was often criticized for its severity and rigidity. Herbert Maxwell Sobel was born on January 28, 1912, into a prosperous Jewish family in Chicago, Illinois. His parents, Max and Dora Sobel, were accomplished business people, and he grew up with an older brother, Julian, and two younger sisters, Maxine and Ruth. Sobel's early education included attendance at the prestigious Culver Military Academy, where he excelled in swimming. He later graduated from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, where he was actively involved in student organizations, including managing the yearbook and participating in the B'nai B'rith Hillel Foundation, a Jewish social and religious group. He was also a member of the Infantry Officers Club in Chicago. Standing at 6 feet tall, Sobel had a distinctive lanky build, which later influenced actor David Schwimmer's portrayal of him in the HBO series Band of Brothers. After completing his education, Sobel served as a reserve officer before being assigned to Fort Riley, Kansas, with the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment. As the inaugural member of Easy Company, he quickly rose to the position of commanding officer. Sobel's exacting standards demanded excellence in every aspect of training, from marching and marksmanship to physical fitness. His soldiers had to be battle-ready at all times, and he enforced military regulations with unwavering strictness. Known for his rigorous and often draconian training methods, Sobel devised grueling fitness tests and imposed strict prohibitions on his men, such as forbidding them to drink without permission. His meticulous inspections were dreaded, often resulting in revoked weekend passes or punishing 3-mile runs up and down Currahee Mountain. Despite his dedication, Sobel's unyielding demeanor earned him the disdain of nearly every man under his command. Historian Stephen Ambrose described Sobel as a petty tyrant, noting his arrogance and oppressive control over the unit. The nickname Black Swan was a testament to his harsh reputation. Sobel's rigidity extended to punishing soldiers for minor or imagined infractions, and his erratic behavior during inspections added to his unpopularity. As Easy Company prepared to deploy, Sobel intervened to save an officer deemed unsuitable for duty, passionately defending him. He also encouraged the families of his men to write letters, offering moral support. However, Sobel's high-pitched voice and peculiar phrases like "Hi-yo Silver" became sources of ridicule among his men, who exploited his poor navigational skills to undermine him. Sobel's unpopularity reached a tipping point in Europe, where his NCOs staged a rebellion, surrendering their stripes and filing a formal protest. Though removed from command in February 1944 and reassigned to a training center, Sobel's role in preparing Easy Company for combat remained undeniable. As the war continued, Sobel rejoined Easy Company, witnessing many of his former trainees in high-ranking positions. Despite this, the bitterness from his strict leadership lingered, with Major Richard Winters famously refusing to return a map to Sobel, sending a letter marked "Nuts" instead. Once the war ended, Captain Herbert Sobel settled down and married a former nurse he had met in Italy. She was a Catholic girl from a farming family who worked at a hospital in Chicago. Sobel had met her while visiting a wounded soldier, and they fell in love. Despite their love, Sobel's family did not accept his wife due to their differences in religion and background. However, Sobel made sure their children were raised Catholic and attended Mass regularly, although he did not go with them. He showed his support for their beliefs. Sobel, who had been a harsh and cruel father, became a loving and attentive husband to his wife. He woke up early every day to make her breakfast and in the winter would go outside and heat up their car for her to drive to work. The couple had 3 sons named Herbert Jr., Michael, and Richard. They also had a baby girl who sadly passed away a few days after birth. They lived in the same house that Sobel had grown up in. Despite his troubled relationship with his own father, he was a great dad to his children. According to Michael, one of Sobel's sons, his father was always loving and attentive and doted on his mother. Sobel never used profanity, never lost his temper, and never raised a hand to his children, even when they deserved it. On Sundays, Sobel would make pancakes and invite neighborhood kids to come in and join them. Herbert Sobel was a man who loved his family deeply, and he showed it in his own unique ways. He gave each of his sons a nickname. Michael was Inky. His brothers were Footsie and Skoy. They played baseball and worked out together. Michael recalls that his father was always in great physical shape and could do push-ups with ease. In fact, as kids, they did 50 to 75 push-ups per night, and their dad did them right alongside them. Sobel served actively in the Korean War until 1953. He then remained in the reserves until he retired as a lieutenant colonel. After that, he worked as a credit manager for a company and never missed a day of work. He put all his savings towards his sons' college expenses, telling them that education was second only to family. However, during the Vietnam War, Sobel's relationship with his family was strained. One of his sons was drafted into the Coast Guard, and another was diabetic. Michael was away at Berkeley, and to make matters worse, he was arrested for protesting at the 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago. This strained his father's relationship with him even more. In 1971, Michael transferred to Southern Illinois University, where he kept a low profile due to his unpopular political views. He had no contact with his father for years until the police finally found him and reported that Sobel had attempted suicide. Sobel had shot himself in the head but survived, although the bullet had entered from the left side, which was rather strange since he was right-handed. The injury left him blind, and he was moved to assisted living in Waukegan, Illinois. Unfortunately, the conditions there were poor, and Sobel was often unresponsive or in a dreamlike state. Eventually, Sobel's wife divorced him, and he remained in assisted living for 17 years until he died on September 30th, 1987, due to malnutrition. Surprisingly, his family did not attend his funeral. However, his sons were not bothered by the portrayal of their father in the HBO series and believed that someone needed to take the blame. One of Sobel's men's sons met Michael at a speaking engagement and hugged him, saying that his father told him to because Sobel was the reason he was alive. It was a touching moment, and Michael wished his father could have heard it.